was browsing the internet the other day and I came across how Better.com laid 15% of their workforce off through a Zoom call. And this just really got me to thinking, you should never be reliant on one source of income. And this is just something that nobody really tells you. I'll explain to you why. So in the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, he explains that a liability takes away money and an asset creates you money. That's how companies see you. You're either a liability or an asset. So if you have a job right now, you're considered an asset. However, when they think they no longer need you, you may be considered a liability, and that is when you get fired. You always want to be thinking of an escape plan. And this is something that has just plagued me probably my entire 20s, because to me, having one source of income from a job is extremely risky. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And the disclaimer of this video is that this is not for beginners. If you are looking to get into cybersecurity and IT, I strongly suggest starting out with a job and getting job experience. It is something to think about, so stay to the end of the video and you may have tons of new ideas that you could possibly do after you get a few years of experience. Also, comment below. I know I probably mentioned it, but do it again. So let's get into the first idea. So the first idea is to create a security awareness training business. You may think, well, this is so obvious. Isn't everyone doing that? I actually don't see a lot of people doing this. It's a prime time to develop your business, and this would be a business to business type business. So you would be selling to like a container package to businesses. There are a few good ones. One is ran by Kevin Mitnick by Known4B. And this is a good example of having a security awareness training program. You may think, well, someone's doing this. Well, I can't. Wrong. There are probably tons of opportunities locally in your community that you could start your own training business. This may not be well suited for everyone. Pricing is a whole nother topic, which I'm not going to get into this, but just check out your local competition and see what they're offering. I have browsed some of these and they have terrible web design, or maybe they're not suited for a certain industry. You could create a niche, so you only go after security awareness training for healthcare. You want to do some recon here, maybe you could just do it for finance. The opportunities are endless. This is a perfect time to catch the wave of cybersecurity. Also, a lot of training is super boring. So maybe you could create something more entertaining or more interactive than, say, the competition. And because of this, you could also just charge more because no one has a product like yours. You don't want to copy, you always want to create. The next cybersecurity and IT business idea is to set up a smart home automation or IoT business. So basically you would go into people's homes and set up their IoT setup and all of that sort. And you may be thinking, who would pay for that? I could do that myself. And that's because you work in cybersecurity and IT. But people will pay a lot of money to do things you probably would have never have thought. For instance, people who go into people's houses and organize their closet is a real job, and people make good money organizing people's closets. Imagine these people who want IoT automation, they just don't have the time, but they have the money to pay you to go set up their entire system. I did some research on it, not a lot of competition, and there's a lot of room for improvement. Common smart home automations I saw were smart home security, home automation for medical care. This is going to be huge, so a lot of the baby boomers are retiring. They're going to want automation in their house to make it easier for them to live. You could also create smart nurseries, smart kitchens and bathrooms, smart pet care. An insane amount of things that you could do with these home automation. Central control, people are gonna want to be able to control everything in their house. Their lights, their sprinkles, their thermostat, phones, their washers, their dryers, their refrigerator. They're gonna have to figure out how to set this up. Right now is the time. My next idea that you could probably start and most likely have the skills is doing a technical support for small businesses. And you may be thinking, who would pay for that? But there are probably a lot of small businesses that don't have time to do their technical support, and they don't have enough money to hire a full-time staff to do IT support. So you could come in and do a container package, say $1,500 every month, and you'll take this many support calls and you'll fix any outages, and you'll take care of the printers and the drivers, and maybe even throw in some cybersecurity services there, do an audit or two, make sure they're doing best practices. You could just have a recurring fee of this of $1,500. Really, you only need about 5 clients to have a full-time income there. The next cybersecurity side hustle that you could start today is you could start freelancing. And a really common one that I see is content writers and technical writers. And a lot of times writers don't get paid a lot, but if you make a niche for yourself in the cybersecurity and IT field, maybe even blockchain or software development, and you learn how to create SOPs or standard operating procedures, white papers, you specialize in white papers for cybersecurity, or creating like documentation, a lot of people would love to outsource this work to you, and maybe you start off a little bit lower, but you could always raise your rates, and you could do this completely on the side. Like, you don't have to quit your 9-to-5 job. There was actually this story by CNBC where this girl on Fiverr makes over $300,000 creating blog posts on Fiverr. And I even watched another segment on how she did this, and it really is not that complicated. She's just really quick. Maybe you're not that quick, but making an extra $30,000, $40,000 a year on the side, and you could definitely do this, especially if you have writing skills and technical knowledge. So go to Upwork and Fiverr and explore all of the options that you have. My next idea, and don't chastise because I'm totally against boot camps, but you could create a boot camp for people, but at a reasonable price. I see a lot of these for $10,000 to $15,000, and it doesn't even really prepare them that well for a job. And they're charging people $15,000. So you could come in, you could create a program based on what you know for your skill to create a program to get them trained up in that skill. Also know a lot of people in that field. You also have networking. So by people knowing you can connect these newly grads that are really motivated with other people. You could also just start a tutoring business and help people. Say they want someone to quiz them or test them. So you could tutor people on these topics. You could make 100 home labs and then sell different home labs with different exercises for a certain fee. And then they could go through these exercises and build these home labs and then put this on their resume. And then their resume doesn't look as generic as other people's. The next one on my list is called a cybersecurity recruiting business. If you're an introvert, you may be thinking, why would I ever do that? But I was at a coffee shop the other day and I overheard this guy talking about how he sold his company, his software development recruiting company, for $32 million. I mean, there's tons of opportunities like this for, say, becoming a cybersecurity recruiting agency. You build that up and then you can sell it a couple of years later, maybe even for $32 million. If you do this idea, please send me a finder's fee. I would appreciate that. And it may be a little bit difficult to find these people, but this guy, I was totally eavesdropping. He was talking about how he created a community within his employees. So even though he paid them a little bit less, he did mention this. He created kind of like a loyal culture because he treated them well. And that's actually, a lot of places don't treat people well, by the way. So if you can create a place where they actually feel like they're contributing, people will stay for less money actually, and they won't be so tempted by money. So if you're that type of person and you can create this type of environment, you could build up a cybersecurity recruiting business and then sell it a couple years down the line. The next cybersecurity and IT side hustle that you could do is start a compliance and auditing company. It's not really a sexy business, compliance and auditing, but it is one that pays well. There's not really any competition in this field, and if you look around locally, what you can do and maybe scope out what your competition is doing, see how you can do it better, and maybe a service that you can offer a little bit different. Say an initial audit is $5,000, and then do a recurring monthly audit for say $1,000, or I'm not not sure where you are, so the pricing may be different. You could assess their IT security state in this. You could identify vulnerabilities and ways that they can improve. You could describe the target state of their IT security and how you would like them to be, and then maybe charge them to get them to be that way. And also you give them updates about the IT progress that you're making. And that would be my last and final cybersecurity side hustle. Please comment, like, and subscribe. This channel is just all about exploring opportunities in cybersecurity and going from point A to point B. So check out all of my other videos in cybersecurity, and I'll see you in my next video. Also, leave that comment now.